Hey guys, it's Chet from MTG Unlimited, and today I have a legacy deck for you guys now. As you can see, this deck's name is a legacy deck because we don't really have a name for it. It's kind of unique in a sense. So, yeah, I mean, there's 3 infinite combos in this deck. Here's the deck list right now. So I'll go over all of them. I'll go over synergy cards and such. Link to the MTG Vault in the description for those of you who want to check that out. But let's get into the deck. So our first card here would be Mox Opal. Now Mox Opal is a legendary artifact, 0-drop. It has Metalcraft. Now that means tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts. So that 3 or more artifact thing does affect Mox Opal. So Mox Opal and 2 others basically. You will be playing a lot of 0-drop artifacts, plus turn 1 you will have the 1 mana from your land drop, so you should be able to play that and get enough mana down to actually do some good work towards your combo. So let's get into our next card. So our next card is Lotus Petal. This is another 0-drop artifact. It is tap, sacrifice Lotus Petal, add 1 mana to your add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Now remember that it is a sacrifice ability, because that will be good to remember in the future for one of the combos, because this is a card included in the combo. So yeah, pretty good. You 0-drop it and get 1 mana from it. So turn 1 you can... This is basically a pump card in a sense. So let's move on. So this card is Elixir of Immortality. If you are not familiar with it, it is a 1-drop. It is an artifact and it's 2, and tap it. You gain 5 life, shuffle Elixir of Immortality, and your graveyard into their owner's library. Now, this card is very important to remember because it is one of the main cards that gives us 2 of our combos. So definitely remember that. Let's move on to the next card. Here we have Lotus Blossom. Now, Lotus Blossom is a 2-drop. It is an artifact, and it's at the beginning of your upkeep. You may put a petal counter on Lotus Blossom. Tap, sacrifice Lotus Blossom, add X mana of 1 color to your mana pool, where X is the number of petal counters on Lotus Blossom. Play this ability only as a mana source. This card gets very ridiculous, because this deck usually goes off around turn 2 to 5. And if you are going off turn 5, that's just 5 mana that goes straight towards your combo, and that is actually enough to pay for our entire combo, so that's kind of cool. But, so that would be that card. That is basically a pump card for this deck, and let's move on to, I believe, our first combo card. So here we have Basalt Monolith. This is our first combo card. It is a 3-drop. Artifact, Basalt Monolith, can't untap on your untap step. During your untap step, tap and add 3 monocolored to your mana pool, and then 3 monocolored, untap Basalt Monolith. Now, this is our first combo card, so definitely keep that in mind, and I will show you exactly why this is our combo card. It does produce infinite colorless mana, if you can't already tell, but that doesn't really matter, because there are 2 other combos that give us infinite color and another thing that we will go into. So let's move on to our creatures. So here we have Laboratory Maniac. It is a 3-drop, 1 blue and 2 monocolored creature human wizard. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. So basically you can't mill yourself out, which is really important because that can happen pretty easily. Plus it is one of your win cons, which again we'll get into it once I reveal the final card for the infinite mana combo. But so that's pretty cool. So let's move on to our next creature card. So here we have our next card. Since we are producing infinite colorless, it would make sense to play Eldrazi. So we have Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, 10-drop. Legendary creature Eldrazi. When you cast Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, draw 4 cards. So draw 4 cards. Annihilator 4, so whenever this creature attacks, defending player sacrifices 4 permanents. And whenever Kozilek is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library. Which, this is really cool, considering that you can infinitely put them out, because there are a lot of draw cards in here. And with Elixir and your infinite mana combo, or infinite colorless combo, you can keep bouncing all the cards in your graveyard, so even if they do destroy it or counter it, it just comes right back out. It is a 12/12, I don't know if I said that, but let's move on to our next card, which is another Eldrazi. So, here we have Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, one of the best cards in this deck, in my opinion. He is a 15-drop, legendary creature Eldrazi. Emrakul the Aeon's Torn can't be countered. When you cast Emrakul, take an extra turn after this one. Flying, protection from colored spells, Annihilator 6. Whenever Emrakul is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles his or her library, or his or her graveyard into his or her library. It is a 15/15. So, this basically is the tank of Magic. It is a 15/15, can't be countered, can't be hit by colored spells. So the only thing that I can actually touch it is All Is Dust, which I don't think people are actually playing in Legacy. So you're not going to have much of a problem putting him down, but even if you do, you'll be able to get him right back out anyway. So it doesn't really matter, but the sad thing is he doesn't have haste, but that doesn't really matter. It's really the extra turn that matters because you fuck shit up, basically. You can also just destroy everything with him. So, that's about it for that. So let's move into our instance, I believe. So let's get at it. So here we have Spell Snare. Spell Snare is a 1-drop for 1 island instant. Counter target spell with converted mana cost 2. So basically, it's just kind of cockblocks your target for a turn or your opponent. Basically, you can stop your opponent from being able to do anything to you for that amount of time, and then stall the game or stall their game for a little bit so you can get out your infinite mana combo and not be touched anymore. So yeah, just there as a counterspell, and let's get into our next instant / sorcery / enchantment card. So here we have Brainstorm. Brainstorm is a 1-drop for 1 blue. It's an instant and draw 3 cards. Put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So basically, this is really in there because it has really good synergy with another one of the cards that we will be showing off. That card is Long-Term Plans, if you know what it is, but if you don't, it'll be coming up soon. But basically, that's there to get out your combo faster if you do have to tutor it, which, again, we'll be showing soon. But it's just really helpful in the end because, again, it's a 1-drop, so it doesn't really screw with you doing your tutor. It just, you know, I'm rambling. It's just really helpful in a sense. So let's get into our next spell. So this card is the second part to our infinite mana combo. It is a 2-drop. 2 islands, enchant artifacts. Its ability, let me read it really quick. The activation cost of target artifact is reduced by 2 mana colored. If this would reduce the target's artifact cost below 1 mana colored, target artifact's activation cost becomes 1 mana colored. Power artifact has no effect on artifacts that have no activation cost or whose activation cost is 0 mana colored. So basically, how this works is that you play that onto Basalt Monolith. You then tap Basalt Monolith for 3 mana colored. You untap it for 1. Then you tap it again for 3. Untap it for 1. Infinite mana combo. So basically, with that going on, you do have Lotus Petals, Mox Opals, and stuff like that to give you mana so that you can use a spell that might be next. It's coming up really soon, which is our draw card spell. So basically, you just draw a good amount of your library, play down a ton of cards, and then draw again if you need to, and just keep doing whatever you need to. But what the other 2 combos are is that Lotus Petal is a 0-drop, and you tap, sack it, and get any mana. So if you have like 2, even if you have 1 out, you can what you can do is if you don't have a library anymore, or if you even do have a library, it's going to be harder with a library, but sack all your Lotus Petals, make blue or whatever you need, then sack Elixir of Immortality for no mana because it's infinite. Then it goes into your library and you draw 5 to 2, anywhere in that number range, depending on what you sacked or how many you sacked, and then that gives you 5 life. You get your Lotus Petals back and you get your Elixir back. Because you have infinite monocolored, you can just play Elixir again, and Lotus Petals are 0 drops, so it doesn't even matter. Then you sack your Lotus Petals, basically sack your elixir, and you can do that infinitely for life and any mana. So basically, that gives you everything you need to play out the rest of the deck, like Laboratory Maniac and any of these spells in here. So basically, it just you basically win the game from there, because at that point your opponent may as well just like concede for that round, because there's no point then. So let's move on to our next few counter spells and such. Well, speaking of counterspells, our next spell is Counterspell. Counterspell is a 2-drop, 2-island instant counter target spell, which is named Counterspell. So, I mean, that pretty much sums up the card. It's a counterspell. Let's move on to our next cards. So here we have another counterspell called Dayz. Dayz is a 2-drop for 1 island and 1 mana-colored instant spell. You may return an island you control to its owner's hand rather than play Dayz's mana cost. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 colorless. So basically, this spell is it could be free or it might not be, and you basically counter something unless the controller pays 1. So basically pretty good, unless like in the beginning of the game, but against me, or against this deck, that is, it does get kind of useless because of the infinite mana. But of course you have to have infinite mana to do that, but you should be getting that combo out pretty early. If you're not, then you need to tweak some things or maybe shuffle a little bit, but yeah, it's whatever. Let's move on to our next card. So here we have our draw spell that I've been talking about. This is called Brain Geyser. It is a 2-drop, or well, 2 converted mana cost drop. It is X monocolored and 2 islands. So basically, you can either mill your opponent out that turn, which should probably be faster, or you can draw a ton and just play for show, which is what I ended up doing usually. So here we have long-term plans, which is basically you just draw a ton of cards because you just have to play 2, 1 island and 2 mana. You can usually use Lotus Petal or search your library for a card, shuffle your library, and then you put that card like 45 cards. So basically, play them all. You can do that as a tutor, and then with Brainstorm, you can put it right on the top. The game question mark, pretty good because they're both instant spells too, so you can play that. Yeah, pretty good on your. You gotta remember though that it is sorcery speed, so it's kind of annoying. Turn but, 4 or 5. Yeah, there you go. Next card. You would have probably your combo right there. So, pretty good synergy, really. I mean, that kind of allows you to win the game right there. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good synergetic combo. But let's just move on to the next card. Okay, here we have Force of Will, sorry. There's a 5-drop, 2 island, 3 mana colored. It's an interrupt. I don't know if that's instant or not. I actually have to look that up. But you may pay 1 life and remove a blue card in your hand from the game instead of paying Force of Will's mana cost. Or casting cost. Effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life. Counter target spell. So basically, it's a counterspell that you can just take 1 and remove a card from the game to use. But then again, if you're, I mean, I don't know why you'd be playing this when they have infinite mana, because they should have, or when you have infinite mana, but they should have they should have, what's the word? Conceded at that point. But Yeah, just another counter spell there. That's that's a 0-drop actually, but you just have to remove a card from the game for it. So let's get into our lands, I believe. So here we go. Here we have Lotus Veil. Lotus Veil is a land. When Lotus Veil comes into play, sacrifice 2 untapped lands or bury Lotus Veil. Tap, add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. So basically, this is good just because you get to sacrifice 2 islands and you get this land out of it. It's, I guess it's average to an island. It's just there because it's there. It's moderately good, especially with the fact that you just translate any of your lands into any of the lands you need if you need to. Not that you can't already do that, but let's get into the rest of our lands. So here we have our islands. Basically, we're just playing some islands because this deck is a blue deck. So, thank you for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and all that good stuff. Thank you for the recent support on the monthly giveaway and such, because that's been great. There is a link in the description to MTG Vault. And again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll see you all in the next video.